Every time I found myself having to write a new abstract for a scientific presentation or a talk, I used to struggle, and it was frustrating because I would always feel that I was starting from scratch. I would look at the blank screen with no words on the screen, but with a lot of words in my head, just not being able to translate those words from my head or brain to the paper. But over time and over a lot of frustrating experiences doing so, I was able to slowly develop a system that works for me and has made writing abstracts a little bit easier. And today I'm going to share that with you. And that is the idea of having a database of scientific abstracts. I am Dr. Adolfo Lara, and today we're going to look at a topic of scientific abstracts. And this topic was inspired by the r/PhD subreddit, where a user has submitted a experience they had. And so let's take a look at it. The user says, submitted my first abstract. Hello, I submitted my first abstract to a conference and I am so excited and proud of myself. My friend and family group are not science-based people, and I don't think they understand my excitement and how big of a deal it is for me to submit my first abstract with only my bachelor's degree. They go on to say they're currently doing an MPH, but my research was not for the program. I am also only taking a couple of classes at a time because the university I work pays for it. I aggregated the data, I put the work in for the analysis, I wrote everything, I did it all. And it was difficult, but so worth it. I just wanted to share with people who would actually understand the excitement that I'm feeling. Thanks for reading. And thank you to the Reddit user for submitting that experience. And on that topic, I wanted to share a couple of points when it comes to abstract and the idea of having a database dedicated to abstract. So I'll talk about what exactly is that abstract database, the organization of it, as well as some of the benefits of having this database. The concept of the database is pretty straightforward, and as it sounds, it's a database of abstracts. It is a central place where you may have one file or many files that are where you saved every abstract that you have written, or abstracts that you have seen in other scientific papers that you find interesting, are related to topics of your interest, or are just well-written abstracts. And this is a way for your current self to organize this and set those resources aside for when you may need them in the future. So in the second point, how can one organize this database of abstracts? And the most straightforward way to do so, the easiest way to do so, is to have a Word document. Open up a Word document, go ahead and paste the abstract you have, your first abstract, and save it. And then when you see an abstract that you find interesting, go ahead and paste it there as well. Or when you write your next abstract, go ahead and do the same thing. Over time, you're going to build a collection or database of these abstracts. And as you start getting more and more of these abstracts, you're able to organize them or categorize them in any way you may want. Some of these ways may include organizing by the topic, if you are working in different research projects, or potentially the type of work you do as an undergrad student may differ from the work you do in your graduate work. You can separate them by topics. You may also separate them by the scope of the presentation. Sometimes you go to scientific conferences where the topic is more general, more broad. Other times you may end up going to scientific conferences where the topic is much more specialized, so you're able to use more of the scientific lingo you might be used to, and you might store the abstracts in this way. Or finally, speaking of those presentations, they may have some limits as far as the number of words or characters, so you might want to organize them in that way as well. And as you work on building this database, it's going to evolve over time, and you may find that the Word document format is not necessarily working for you anymore. So you may be able to change it into something like a Notion or an Obsidian based storage that is going to help you for long-term storage of this resource and this information. The next point is it worth having and putting in the time and effort to making this database? So what are some of the benefits? Personally, some of the benefits that I've seen is that anytime I have been faced with the Microsoft Word blank screen, one of the things that I became frustrated with was not being able to start. I was just stuck. And having this database, that gives me a first step to do. It gives me a place to start. And the place to start would be in the database itself, looking at previous abstracts that I have written. And that is always my first step. Second, in looking at those abstracts, I'm able to find inspiration in that same topic. If I find myself in a place that I am ready to start practically, but I have writer's block because I'm not inspired, I'm able to read some of those abstracts and get some ideas going to write. And in this way, the database itself is able to spark some ideas for my writing. Together, being able to know where to start, which would be looking in the database, and two, finding inspiration in that database, you're able to save time, and that is a great benefit that comes out of these two previous benefits. So in closing, why do you need this database of abstracts? As you progress and advance in your scientific career, you're going to find yourself applying for conferences, maybe, and hopefully being invited to giving presentations and talks, and some of those may require that abstract. If you're going to conferences, then doing a presentation is going to require that abstract. And while that can feel intimidating, especially if you're in the same position as I was and the Reddit user was, where we may not have a nearby community to be able to discuss these things with, this database does help make that process a little bit easier. In a way, think of this database as your own and personalized database, or your playbook. As you build this database, you're building a collection of proven written examples that is going to make your own writing stronger. Start your database today, and your future self is going to thank you for that down the line. And writing abstracts doesn't have to be that daunting process as long as you have the right system, which includes having this database. And the benefits of that is that with time, it's only going to get better and better as you add more abstracts and more resources to it. And what abstracts allow you to do is what I think is one of the coolest aspects of science, which is being able to share or communicate those findings and those discoveries of your own work with the scientific community and with the general public as a whole. And in this way, you are paying it forward, and you're also keeping that knowledge alive and well. Doing scientific presentations is pretty much a staple of the graduate school experience, specifically as you finish up for your final PhD presentation. If you're currently in the last 12 to 18 months, watch this video where I dive into some of the tips I wish I had during that time to conquer that PhD endgame and make that year one of my best years in the graduate school program. I'll see you in the next one.